Good morning, dear friends. It's Judy with JBW Designs, and I want to welcome you back to my Flosstube. This is number 94. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, and it is going to be a very hot day here. I think it's all across the U.S., isn't it? So we're going to stay inside and stitch and hopefully and visit. And I just want to first tell you how grateful I am for your wonderful comments each time I record a video, for your emails and letters and encouragement. It just all is very, very encouraging, of course, for a designer to keep going. So I have a couple of follow-up questions I want to address from the last video. I have some viewers' finishes to share with you as usual. I also have some great questions that our viewers posted from the last video, and I'm going to address those. And then, of course, I'm going to do a little bit of Christmas in July. So I hope you have something fun that you're stitching on and that you get a chance in the next few days to just relax and enjoy what we love to do. So my first information that I wanted to share with you is someone wrote about the comic board that I use for backing my ornaments. I don't even have an ornament here to show you. And she tried to find it on Amazon, and she thought she ordered the wrong thing. There are many different packages of it. As I mentioned before, they come in packages of usually 100. It's called comic backing boards, and actually quilters often use these boards because they have a little heft to them, not as much as a mat board, to store their fabric. And the brand that I like is made by BCW, and I'll take notes to put this in my notes below the video, and that's all I can share with you, but that is the brand that I use. The next thing I want to talk to you about is one of the questions from the last video had to do with what are your favorite designs that you've stitched. And I had several actually, but I mentioned the Christmas Village series, which is a series of 4 books, 3 little buildings in each booklet. And then I showed you my overall design of how I had put them all together as one design. But what I forgot to tell you is that there is a free PDF file for the Christmas Village, and it will show you a picture of what the layout looks like, and then on the back, on the second page, it will give you a chart to show the lettering and the placement of each building. So this is free. You just have to email me, judy@jbwdesigns.com, and say I need the layout for the Christmas Village. And incidentally, there's also a layout for the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas series, and both of these are fairly old. That also is a series of 4 books. There is a free layout. That one is a vertical layout with a border, and so if you're interested, just email me. So let's see. I have some lovely finishes to show you that excuse me, that come in either on Instagram or in emails or on my friend's page. So let's see, I have to get organized here. Where are all my photos and books, etc.? So the first one I want to share with you is the French Country Crown. As always, the pictures are quite small, but I love the fabric that they chose. This was stitched on a 32 count Peoria from Weeks Dye Works, and she added some, I don't know if you can see it or not, her finishing is gorgeous, beautiful white pearls as the edging around this, and then just put it on a little easel. And this was done by the name on Instagram, Floss Paper Scissors. So I thought that was a beautiful finish, and of course this is what the booklet looks like. You can always make it for a friend who considers herself a queen. All right, then the second finish that came in was from Reindeer, and this also was on Facebook and Instagram, and I loved her finish. This is Fleur de Alphabet. Again, she used shades of purple for the design. It's beautifully matted and framed. I just thought, when I looked at it, I thought, oh, this is just stunning. So it's always fun to share what other people have chosen for their colors and fabrics. And this is what the booklet looks like. And there is a picture on the inside of the whole design. So it's really fun to see it worked, as I say, in different color combinations and different fabrics. Now, the next one I have to show you, oh, this was gorgeous. So this was worked by Anne Marie, and it is called the Stitcher's Stocking. It was worked on a 56 count fabric, and I don't know about you, but I haven't tackled that yet. And it was worked with Clayton silk, and the color was perfect red. So I can't wait to see her finish of that. And this is what the Stitcher's Stocking looks like in the finish. So let's keep moving along here. We have another, quite a few people, as you'll see, are posting Christmas stitching. Let's see here, I've got a couple together. So this was from Enid Stitcher, and she stitched it on an Othr, and I was so encouraged to hear that, because I always tell you that you don't have to use linen, or you can choose any fabric you want for your designs. The interesting thing is there are little snowflakes in the background of the design, and she added beads for those. And her Instagram name is Itching for Stitching, and she also has a YouTube. So thank you, Enid. And this is what the booklet looks like. This is, I've never told you the name of it. It's Enchanted Village. All right. The next one, this was fun to see. I've been watching her actually working on it. This is from the Dutch Stitcher, and her name is Hanneke. And she has a wonderful YouTube, which Flosstube, which I've mentioned before. The interesting thing about her Flosstubes is that she has been interviewing, probably every 2 weeks, someone that we all are familiar with in our industry. So she interviewed Sarah with Sarah Stitchy Spot. I'm trying to think of who else. I'm drawing a blank. The one she just interviewed was Modern Folk Embroidery, and that was fascinating because, of course, Jacob has fabulous antique samplers, etc. So she is called the Dutch Stitcher on Flosstube, and as I say, I think you'd really enjoy her. Let's see, do I have, oh, what is this? What did she stitch is the question, right? So she, Hanneke stitched the Rose Motif Sampler. She talked about how much she enjoyed stitching it, and I don't have any other notes on what fiber and fabric she used, but thank you, Hanneke, for sending that. And now we have a group of, let's see, I think these are all, yes. So these 3 pictures I'm going to share with you are all from the same stitcher. And as I say, this is from Christine G. She has been very busy stitching ornaments galore. So here are 6 of the ornaments that she chose, and I'll show you the books that they came from. She posted these on my friend's page. I love the fact that she stitched all of these ornaments in white on red. I thought those turned out beautifully. Then she also stitched 4 other ornaments. And then her third picture that she sent to me, I love this too, was white on a very, very dark green. And I thought those were just stunning. So she told me that all of those designs that I've shared with you are from the Ornament Collection 1 booklet and the Ornament Collection 2 booklet. And as you know, or may not if you're new to my channel, there are 5 booklets in this series. Each booklet contains 20 different ornaments, and I'm very excited. I almost have the last proof done on booklet number 6, which will be released in August. And a couple of videos ago, I showed you some of those models. All right, this we keep seeing over and over again, but I love seeing it. I love the finishes. So this was from Laura Bates on Instagram. Let me move this over here. She stitched the Georgian floral basket. And what I loved about this is look at the pearl edging on that. Now we've seen 2 models with pearl edging, and I just think they're stunning. Just beautiful. She tied a little sweet little satin ribbon at the bottom. Just lovely. And of course that booklet looks like this. So those were the designs that were shared from our viewers. So if you have a finish and you're not on Facebook and don't want to be, you can always email me what you've done, and I would love to see it, and then it's always fun to share those things. So as I mentioned in the last video, I answered some questions, and that must have inspired all of you, because now I have quite a few new questions that I thought, oh, I think you might be interested in. So the first one is a funny one. This is from Julie, and she said, how do you ever want to leave that beautiful room? And my answer is, I practically live up here. There is no bed in this room, but I love it. And the other funny thing about the room, because I've been collecting all these antique samplers and chairs and pillows, etc. for years, and is that my husband, when he comes up here, he plops himself down in one of the many chairs, and he'll say to me, this is my favorite room in our house. And I have to agree. I don't know. I can't tell you what it is about it. First of all, it's, I think I've told you before, it's the bonus room over our garage. So it's quite a long room, and it has window seats. It has 2 closets, which we were lucky because we built this house 22 years ago, and I was able to figure out with our son, actually, who built it, what kind of storage space I needed in this room. I don't actually have enough, but that's okay. There are other rooms in the house that I store things in. Thank you, Julie. So my next question is from another Julie, and this is Julie M. And she said, what was your first release to the public? And so I've mentioned this before, but the funny thing is, I'm not even sure, what did I do with that booklet? I have 2 booklets in my pile, but not the right one. Huh. Well, that's curious. Nope, that's not it. I have piles everywhere here of things I want to share with you. Well, that's very, very, very odd. I'll just have to tell you about it. So the very first release that I did was called Quilts Are Love. And that was the very first booklet that was actually published in a large format. It's going to look similar to this one. This is Wedding Quilt Sampler. And I have the model. And the amazing thing is that I've kept it all these years. I think it's because I'm trying to reach down to grab it here. I still love it. And so this is what the very first release looks like in its stitched format. So it says, Quilts Are Love, made up of little pieces of my heart. I have not republished this. I don't know if there would be a demand for it. I know there are tons of quilters out there, so maybe there would be. I'm still trying to figure out where I stored it. But anyhow, Julie, that was my very first release. And then that was followed up with, there was a baby quilt sampler, as I mentioned, a wedding quilt. I was very into quilts at that time. These were published in 1990, 1993. Victorian Hearts. I'm trying to think of some of the other very first booklets that were published, but well, it's a mystery. I'll show you the booklet next week. My next question, and this was from Karen J, and she said, do you ever stitch other designs from other designers? And the answer is yes, I do. Now, I don't have much time to stitch because for myself, because I stitch all my own models for the most part. I did get help with this last ornament booklet, but if I have time, I like to do them myself. I think the reason is that, and this question is going to be answered in a few minutes, is the way I design. I do so many, I call them iterations, but variations of that first chart, that I'm actually changing things as I'm stitching it. I see that a stitch is missing, I see that the placement isn't right, and I think that's why it's so hard for me to send my chart to somebody else to stitch, because I make so many changes along the way. So let me show you some of the things that I've done. I love, of course, Brenda Gervais, like everyone else. I have done one of her Christmas designs, and I've shown it in the past at Christmas time. I don't remember the name of it, but it's just beautiful. It was a round box, I think. And then I also really like, let me pull out, do I have more than one? I only think I have one. I really like Artful Offering designs. And I did this rabbit of hers. I didn't pull the chart, I'm sorry about that. I made a few changes to this because I wanted it to fit with the colors in my office. This Imagine, Dream, Believe was in the original chart, and I added Inspire, Love, Create to the bottom of it. So her designs are just fabulous. I also, in my past, used to do a lot of needlepoint, and so I have two needlepoint pieces to show you. I think that this, I'm not sure. I was going to tell you who the designer was, but now I'm not sure. It's funny because the designs that I'm showing you right now, the last two, have rabbits in them, which of course we have no explanation for why I like rabbits so much. But I've always loved this pillow. This sits in our family room. It's actually quite old, but I love the colors of it, and I love the design. I'm trying to think who it's by. It might be, I'm drawing a blank. Birds of a Feather. So that it leads to this next piece, which is also, I know this is a Birds of a Feather design. This was another needlepoint piece that I did years ago. And of course the colors just fit in here beautifully. This was, I found a bench that this fits on. So it sits actually like that on the top of a bench that I painted. But aren't those colors just marvelous? Birds of a Feather design just have such a unique style that I think many of us just love. And then I have one piece that I can show you that, I know. I also have done GGR, and I showed you that piece probably, I don't know, quite a few months ago. And it was my initial J, and it's quite large. It hangs up on my wall with other antique samplers. It's done in red, and it's probably about this big. So I have started another very, very large piece, and I can't remember when I started it. All right. Is right, because I'm going to move here. I'm sure you're laughing as I sneak around the corner of my desk, because what I want to show you fell on the floor. So this is Anne Grimshaw, 1818, a Quaker sampler. All right, I'm going to move so you can see what I've got started here. I absolutely love this piece. I'll fold it in half so I can show you part of it. I started a long time ago, and I haven't had much time lately to work on it. But I know I'm stitching it on a 40 count linen. I did not write down which linen I chose, sorry to say. And then, as you can see, most people are working this Anne Grimshaw in a single color. I've seen it in black, I've seen it in navy blue, but I chose 4 shades of blue, and I chose one classic color, old blue jeans, and then my other 3 colors are DMC. So I have no plan of the placement of the colors. I just choose them as I move on to the next motif. You can see that I am down to about here. I've done a few letters, so I'm only about halfway done. I have all of the alphabets and all of those other motifs to do, but I do love it, and I think it will be beautiful when it's framed. So that answers what do I stitch on of other designers. Nicole asked, do I still have my child's sewing machine? I mentioned that in the last video, and I'm sorry to say I do not. I've seen antique sewing machines for sale. I can't remember, of course, exactly what it looked like. I could probably look up what was being made during that time span, but no, I don't still have it. So let's see. My next question was from Angela, and she is looking for a fall designs with pumpkins, and I had to write to her to tell her that there was a fall design. I can show you, it's probably going to be a glare to here. It was called the Great Pumpkin Alphabet, and it was so expensive to print because this piece is, it doesn't, let's see, I probably stitched it on a 28, so it's about 20 inches long. But as I say, the chart was so expensive that I really could not continue to reprint. I do reprint a lot of my older patterns, but I didn't think there would be enough call for it. So I can tell Angela that she kind of inspired me. So I have created a new pumpkin design that's going to be released in August that's quite a bit smaller. All right, on to the next question. Megan said, do you sketch your designs on paper or use a computer program? So I looked back in my old, I keep a file of each of my designs. I'm sorry to say I started out with colored pencils on graph paper. That's how long I've been doing this. And it's quite a laborious process, but at the time we did not have software. You know, there were dinosaurs still roaming the earth when I started. So yes, I started with colored pencils, but now I have moved on and I work on a Mac, and I have a program that's called, let's see, what is the name of it? Oh gosh, I had it and then it's gone from my head. I don't know if I wrote it down. Isn't that terrible? MacStitch. That's terrible. It's so simple to remember. I love charting with this. And I'm going to show you in a few minutes some of my designs that are charted in color, because that leads to the next question. So let's see here. And so I chart in color, and then I convert those color symbols, color blocks to symbols for the charts that you have. So Linda S. asked a related question. How does a design come to you, and how long does it take you to complete, and do you tweak it? So I keep a notebook of design ideas because I do. Other designers have completely different schedules for their releases. Some release every 2 months. I don't do it that often. I usually release 2 at the most 3 times a year. So I keep a notebook of design ideas. I get design ideas from you. I get design ideas in the strangest places. Sometimes I'm, waking up or falling asleep and something just comes to me and I write it down. And a lot of times the designs become a series. So that was true with, I don't know if I have a sample here. well, I'm thinking of the French country designs. So for some reason, this was a long time ago. I thought to myself, this sounds so goofy, that I could see taking a design, a shape, and the very first one was a rabbit, of course, and instead of making like a pattern within the rabbit, like a plaid or stripe or something, I was going to use antique sampler motifs to create that shape. And so that the rabbit, French country rabbit, was the very first one, and those were really fun to put together. And so that is part of my design process. As I say, I keep a list. I think about what season is coming up. For instance, now, believe it or not, in July we're working on Christmas, fall, etc. So sometimes a design takes several months to complete. So I have two designs that I want to show you, just for an example, to show you kind of the progression of a design. And as I say, this is probably completely different for every designer out there. But this is very rough. This was the original notes for stitching in the round. So I started with just notes to myself. What motifs would fit in a stitching related themed round design? And I wrote down scissors, buttons, needle, thread, thimble, spool, tomato, pincushion, yarn, needles, glasses, a basket, tape measure, a hoop, floss. So then I don't know if you can see, but I did tiny little drawings of them. Then sometimes I will go to the computer and I will start charting those little motifs. And so if you look at the first iteration of stitching in the round, this you can see has many of the symbols that I mentioned, many of the motifs. But what I tend to do, and you'll see in the next pages, so this was number 4 in this design process. This was number 6, and you can see I go in and I make marks to myself what needs to be moved. Often I will take motifs out of the piece, several motifs out, and rearrange everything that I have there and then put them back in again. It's like putting together a puzzle. So this is chart number 9. You can see I've made marks again of things I want to change. And this was the final chart. So this one, I always date the charts. The first one was done on 10/26/22. I must not have started stitching the model until a couple months later, because the final chart, which means I changed things as I was stitching, was done on the 3rd of January 23. So as I say, sometimes it takes a while. So that is kind of the path of stitching in the round, and of course this is what the booklet looks like. Now I have another one to show you in that same category of, what is the process in a design. And so I'm going to show you the Bluebird of Happiness. Now this design was specifically made for a retreat that I was going to, I think it was 2022, I've lost track. Might have been 2023. No, 2022 I think it was. It doesn't matter. Anyhow, I found an antique sampler, or purchased an antique sampler, and I can show you what it looked like because I charted it later. So this is Hannah's Bluebird sampler, and what attracted me to this piece was I absolutely loved that border with the birds in it. And actually I think they look more like swallows than bluebirds, but I had a quote that I wanted to use. So the first thing I did was chart that bluebird border, because I knew I was going to pull parts of that design to use in the Bluebird of Happiness overall design. So again, I started with just notes to myself, very simple notes. The colors I thought I was going to use, the shape of the sampler, how I could take many of the motifs and use them for smalls. And then it took me a while to find the borders that I wanted to use, because I often use borders from my antique sampler. From my antique sampler books. I'm always looking for what alphabet do I want to use, and so I just wrote to myself lots of notes. So this started, I must not have done it until 23, because I started the design process actually a couple years ago, 7/21, that's ironic, of 22, and this was the start of it. So that's number 3 version, and let's look at the booklet itself. I actually stayed with that border there, and I stayed with that border, but then all of this in here I didn't like, so I ended up moving. So I'll quickly kind of go through this. I'm sure this is a bit long for you. So I look at each chart that I do to figure out the balance, the colors, what motifs I like, etc. So that's number 4. This is number 11. You can see I'm still moving many things. I actually ended up keeping this border right here. I'm looking at the book, and I actually kept this right here. But this moved up here. I mean, there are just so many changes that are made. So this is number 13. Now it's September 1st. You can see I'm still, my deadline, I had to have it done by January of the following year. So I'm still writing notes to myself about what I picture going in each part. Let's see if I can find. So this is, I'm trying to see which version this is. This version is number 23 here, and you can see on this version I'm still have motifs down here at the bottom that I'm either taking out or moving to other places. So it's a complicated, it's a long process. I'm sure other designers have other ways of doing it. So this is what the final design looks like. I don't have the model here right now. It's at a trunk show. So I hope that answers your questions of kind of how I work. And if you have other questions, just send them to me. I think that's a fun topic. So let's move on. This is going to be quite a long video to my Christmas in July theme. I'm going to take a quick spot of tea and show you some of the things I pulled out. Many of my models that are trunk show, and I'll tell you about that in a few minutes. So I pulled out, let's see, I want to show you the books that go with each design. Let's see, these little things get kind of wacky. So this is Sledding Santa, and this actually is going to be, I believe, I'll have to double check, in the new booklet, but it is also the new Ornament Collection. It is also a book by itself, and this was worked, this particular model was worked over to, let's check it out here, on a Belfast linen, and I also worked it over one on a 28 count linen. So it's fairly small. They fit on the medium-sized sled that you can find online. As I mentioned before, the sleds become unpainted, and I usually paint them to pull out one of the colors in the design. So, all right, we have quite a, I need to organize here. I need space, right, to pile everything before I move on. All right, the next one that I want to show you is also one of my older designs. This is Be Joyful. This was designed in 2019. It actually contains 2 designs. I've got the models here to show you. So it has both the word joy and the word Noel. And what I love about these designs is the finishing. So let me show you what it looks like. So it was finished with a baker's twine around the outside edges. I just used a coordinating lining on the back. My finisher added 2 little bows up here at the top. And the other model of this booklet is similar. It looks like this. And the other thing I forgot about is she twisted the baker's twine into loops at the bottom and put a pin to hold each loop. Can you kind of see that? I just think that is wonderful. And so, as I showed you before, this is what Be Joyful looks like. All right, the next one I'm going to pull out here is a book called Joy Noel. And this was part of a series of designs that I did. There are actually 3 in this series. There's Joy Noel, there's Tidings of Joy, and Oh Christmas Tree. And all of them are done, well, I take that back. I did one model on red with white, and then I did a second model, I can show you that one, with red on white. So let me show you what the model looks like. And I always tell people to get ideas from the finishing because I think this is so clever. My finisher used just a small border of fabric along 2 sides and added ribbons and buttons and rickrack, any trims that you can find. So that is Joy Noel. All right, let's see here. The next one I want to show you, let's see, I'm trying to set this down carefully, is very similar to the Be Joyful designs, and that is Be Merry. And so I had 2 finishes of this. Of course, this is the design over 2. And then I also did another, this is also over 2, and it's finished as a drum. And I just love the look of that. I had found a little silk strawberry at an antique store, and I added that to the top along with a little snowflake charm. So this is what the Be Merry drum looks like. All right, and this is what the booklet looks like. All right, the next one I want to show you is actually 2 different stockings that I did. Most of my stockings lately have been very small, ornament size to hang on the tree. But quite a few years ago, I did 2 French country stockings. This was one of them. I actually posted this yesterday on my Instagram page. And this is just full of antique sampler motifs. The reindeer, the lettering, many of the borders. Some of the trees, of course, were from old antiques and some were newly charted. But it has a wonderful toile fabric on the back, and this is what French country stocking looks like. So because this is such a large design, I can't show you the chart, of course. I can tell you that the chart takes up the whole inside of the booklet. All right. Now, this is another similar kind of stocking. This is the reindeer, French country reindeer stocking. And it of course, again, has alphabets and borders, etc. And the booklet for that, all right, looks like this. So the funny thing about my video today is that I had this all set up to record a week ago. And the night everything was set up, I knew what I wanted. I had all the models pulled on my work table. And the night before I was going to record, I got, I don't know, another cold or allergy attack or something. So I had to move my work table off to the side so I could work at my desk and save it until I felt like I could talk to you. So here's another model to share with you. And this is a fairly new one. This is from last year. This is called Fleur de Noel. And it has been stitched in many color combinations. If you watch I'm drawing. It's Mrs. Jones Stitches. Holly, I think, is her name. And she stitched this in pastels. And it is just beautiful. You'll have to go back and watch. She does Flosstube's beautiful, beautiful colors that she chose. So this is what the booklet looks like. I originally did it in, let me look it up. Let's see, what did I choose? I chose Romance from Weeks Dye Works for my model over red. And then actually there are two colors in the original, just a dark and a lighter shade. So let's put this over here. Okay, sorry about the noise. And then, of course, this is what that booklet looks like. I have two more to show you. All right, this is interesting. Okay, this is called O'er the Fields We Go. You can tell I have something, I just love reindeer for Christmas designs, and I've used them in many of them. This actually has a very tiny alphabet that is under the snow. It has an antique border up here in Christmas trees, and I got quite carried away with stitching models for this. So this is what it looks like, the booklet. I originally stitched it in, let's see, what do I have another? Yep, let me show you this. I can only show you part of it. So I originally stitched it in red on white, and I have the model for that. It's right in front of me. So I can show you that model. And then I also stitched it, let's fold this back up, show you that. I also stitched it in blue, and how different that design looks in a different colorway. It's really quite remarkable, I think. So this is what the design looks like in red on white. And I found a board that was a very good size to mount it on. I mounted it on some fabric with a rickrack trim around it. And what I like about this is it can sit flat on a table. All right, I have one more to show you, and this is called the Bristol stocking. And if any of you are sampler enthusiasts, you know that Bristol stockings are primarily worked in reds, and they often have alphabets and very tiny motifs on them. So I tried to do an adaptation of what I thought a Bristol sampler might look like. So those are all my models for today, and now let's move on to the next topics. So I always like to give prizes to my viewers, and each time I select 3 names from the random number generator. And so if you hear your name announced today, just email me, Judy at jbwdesigns.com, and you can choose any of the patterns that I showed you today, and I'd be happy to send it to you as a thank you. So my first winner is K. Carter, C-A-R-T-E-R, 2132. My second one is Feldie 64, F-E-L-D-I-E 64. And the third one is Judy, M-C-M-A-H. So thank you, ladies, for watching and for commenting. So I have an exciting shop of the week, and I'll tell you why it's exciting, because so you know, each time I do a video I select a shop to highlight, and this one has a special significance. It's Welcome Stitchery. You can see the address here, 120 South Main, Blue Earth, Minnesota. Oh, I forgot to put the zip code. Judy. The owner is Justine, and she is just wonderful. Their email is welcomestitcher@bevcom.net, and here is her phone number. So why is this special this week? Well, first of all, they have my trunk show. And secondly, they asked me to design something for their 4th anniversary. Each year they ask a designer to design something that they can have for to celebrate their anniversary. So this is what I designed. I can show you what the booklet looks like. It's been under wraps for so long. I think I started this last fall, and I couldn't show it to anybody until last weekend was their official anniversary celebration. So I designed a welcome sign. And it's so interesting because I stitched it, of course, in pinks and greens. But Justine, bless her heart, said, "Oh, I'm going to try it in another colorway." So it's going to be a little, I think it's going to be hard for you to see this. Yeah, it's going to be very hard. But she chose, I can show you her colors. She chose 2 shades of blue. Can you see those there? And a green. So you can kind of see here were the colors that I worked it in. And here, let me fold this over, are the beautiful colors that she chose. So how can you get this chart? Well, this is wonderful. You can contact a Welcome Stitchery, and they just sent me, they have kits with all of the materials that are called for in the chart. So you get both colorways for the stitching. You also, there's so many things in this kit. I'll just show you some of them. You get the fabric that's from Needle Bling. They send in the kit, there's a wonderful needle box you can see with Welcome Stitchery on it. I've misplaced something that's in this kit because I know there was a really cute tag. They send you a little wax container, a set of pony needles, a little fob, which is, I'm trying to figure out, it is the symbol for Blue Earth, Minnesota. I'll have to ask Justine what that means. And then a page for a project journal. I mean, there are so many things in this welcome box. So if that's something that you're interested in, it comes in a bag with fabric that you could use for finishing. This is what the booklet looks like. So contact Justine. I was very honored to be asked, and it was fun to design something just for her shop. So my last topics have to do with, let's see if I've covered everything. I think so. My kindness quote. And so my kindness quote, actually I had another one and then I spotted this and I just loved it. They asked, "Why is it important to be kind?" I said, "Because we walk past hundreds of people every day and none of them wear signs that say, 'I'm grieving, I'm exhausted,' or 'I'm barely holding it together.' But they're everywhere. Kindness might be the only softness they receive today." Isn't that beautiful? It makes me cry to think about it because I think it's so true. We never know what others that we come across or talk to are dealing with. So quick life updates. We went to our daughter's for 4th of July. I wish I could show you a picture of her great-granddaughter. They took her to parade that morning, and she loves to dance to music, and they have a video of her, which I don't think I'm allowed to show, but there's a tractor going by, and she is just moving her arms and her hips. Nothing, is coordinated. She probably dances like I do, but it is so cute. She's so excited. She has a little flag. It is just adorable. So my husband and I have been watching baseball this summer and volleyball with our grandchildren. And what am I doing? I'm working on booklets. I'm trying to get the models finished for a couple of the new designs. Most of the models are done, and trying to get all of the initial products, of course, booklet information to my graphic designer. So it's a busy time. Our show is in just less than a month. So, all right, that's all for today. I think I set a record. How to contact me, I've mentioned my email. I'll put it in the notes below. You can go to my Friends of JBW Designs Facebook page and join that group. And then I'm on Instagram as judy.whitman. So thank you, everybody, for being so patient and for watching and for being such lovely friends. And I hope to see you in just a couple weeks. Bye-bye.